So, you've got a great idea, right? One of those million-dollar ideas. But what actually separates a cool thought from a business that thrives? Well, today, we're going to unpack the essential blueprint for any entrepreneur. We'll take you step by step from that first little spark all the way to a full-blown launch.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll cover how to turn your idea into a real legal company. Then we'll dive into the world your business will have to survive in. After that, we'll talk about building trust, creating the perfect product, and finally, getting it out to the world. Let's get into it. You know, every single company, from the tiny coffee shop on your corner to a massive tech company, started in the exact same way. It all began with one person who saw an opportunity and was just brave enough to take a real risk.
So what exactly is an entrepreneur? At its heart, it's a person who's willing to accept all the risks and opportunities that come with creating and running a new business. It's really that perfect mix of vision, courage, and, actually getting things done.
Okay, before you make your first sale, before you even have a logo, you have to make a huge decision. What's your business's legal structure going to be? And trust me, this is a big deal. It affects everything from whether your own house is at risk to how you pay taxes to your ability to get funding later on.
So it really comes down to this big trade-off. On one hand, a sole proprietorship is super simple. You get total freedom and it's easy to set up. But, and this is a big but, there's no legal difference between you and the business. Your personal assets are on the line. On the other hand, a corporation creates this legal shield. It protects you personally and makes it way easier to get investors. The downside? It's more complex and you might face double taxation.
Okay, so you've picked the legal structure. That's your internal setup. But no business is an island. To really succeed, you have to understand the world your business lives in. All those external forces that can either lift you up or completely knock you down.
And believe me, your business is constantly being pushed and pulled by all of these forces. You've got what's happening at home and around the globe, technology that's changing the rules of the game, the political and legal climate, what's happening in culture and society, and of course, the big one, the economy itself. And speaking of the economy, there's one challenge that looms larger than pretty much anything else. Competition. Figuring out who you're up against and what that competitive field looks like is absolutely critical to finding your own spot in the market. This table does a great job of laying out the whole competitive spectrum. On one end, you have perfect competition. Think of a local farmer. They have tons of competitors and absolutely no control over price. As you move across, you see fewer competitors, and your control over pricing starts to go up, all the way to a monopoly, like your local utility company, which has a ton of control. So the key question for you is, where on this chart does your business idea fit?
All right, we've looked at the world outside your company. Now it's time to look inward. A great business isn't just about making money. It's about people. And the foundation of any organization that lasts is trust, which all comes from having a strong ethical core.
This quote from Patagonia's founder, Yvon Chouinard, just nails this idea. He decided that his company wasn't just about making money for shareholders. Nope, it was about serving a bigger purpose. In his case, saving the planet. You know, business ethics isn't some vague idea for the C-suite. It's really about all the little decisions that every single employee makes every day. It shows up in how you treat your customers, how you deal with suppliers, and the kind of workplace you build for your team. And making the right call doesn't have to be just a gut feeling. There's a really practical way to think about it. It's a simple 3-step playbook. First, get all the facts. Second, look at those facts through the lens of your company's values. And third, make a clear judgment call. It's a great tool for handling those tricky situations. Okay, with your legal and ethical foundation solid, now we get to the really fun part, building the actual thing you're going to sell to the world. The classic toolkit for this is something called the marketing mix, but you'll almost always hear it called the 4 Ps. These are basically the 4 key ingredients you have to get right to bring a product to market successfully. And here they are: product, price, place, and promotion. You have to ask yourself, does my product solve a real problem? Is the price right? Where and how can customers get it? And am I telling them about it in the right way? The real magic happens when you get all 4 of these working together in perfect harmony. And here's something else that's really important to remember. Products have a natural lifespan. They get introduced, then they hopefully hit a growth spurt, then sales start to level off during maturity, and eventually they decline. Knowing which phase your product is in totally changes your strategy. So, we've built the business and we've crafted the perfect offer.
The final piece of the puzzle is connection. How do you actually get your product into people's hands and, more importantly, tell a story that makes them care? Promotion is that fourth P we were just talking about, and it's basically your company's microphone. It's how you tell the world what you're all about, build your brand, and, well, convince people to buy your stuff.
This chart gives us a really telling snapshot of where companies are spending their ad money. Sure, TV is still the king of the hill, but just look at the internet. It's pulling in twice the ad dollars of traditional newspapers. That isn't just a small shift. It's a massive change in how businesses are trying to reach you.
And there you have it. That's the 5-stage blueprint for taking an idea from just a thought in your head to a real-world business. We've covered your legal setup, the competitive world out there, your ethical compass, the product itself, and how you connect with your customers. The blueprint is right here. The only question left is, what are you going to build?